Good evening, everybody. Welcome on in. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining in this evening. This is Midweek Connection. It's our first Midweek Connection in the new year. And if you saw at the end of the intro, it said, Here We Grow 2022, and brought us right out into Awakening Me in 23. And this is our little graphic for that. I wanted to show it to you again. Awakening Me in 23. So in 2022, our intention was to grow together. Our intention was to continue our growth and whatever that process was bringing about. And now we are awakening me, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through this year. But the theme for this year is Awakening Me in 23. And what all that could come to mean. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this. We continue in our discovery and our looks at the Tao Te Ching, And we are actually on verse 12 this evening. So we're on the final countdown. 12 means we're going to be done with this really within the next 3 months. So we have about 3 months left of this right before our Awakening Conference that's going to be coming at the end of April. We're going to be rolling out that information this Sunday on that. So Awakening Conference 2023 is going to be amazing. So again, we'll be letting you know about all of the details on that. Let's get into this study this evening, but before we do that, let's take a few moments to get centered. Those of you who participate in our meditation and sound healing at the campus have already enjoyed the 6 o'clock meditation that is offered to you by our spiritual support team. I believe our own Rebecca Joy led that this evening. Powerful meditator, wonderful meditators that lead. Reverend Serena, Reverend Carolyn, Reverend Aileen, all the other wonderful folks who lead those meditations. Powerful, and Reiki practitioners who work with folks and moving the energy throughout the sanctuary at the campus. What a powerful first week. It's been a busy first week of the new year for me and for our campus. Very excited about where we're headed as a community. Let's take just a moment though to slow down. Allow ourselves to rest into this moment. just be present here now. I'll invite you to hit the like button or the heart button, maybe put in a comment that lets people know you're here, lets us know that you're watching this evening. More than that, invest your energy into this journey into deeper and more meaningful awakening. Let's take just a moment, if you would. To just breathe into this moment. In fact, I'll encourage you to receive a deep breath. And give it back. Free to receive and freely give. Constantly reminded of the ebb and the flow of life. The beauty of this abundant life that we all have the opportunity to live. As we move throughout this time together this evening, we surrender our beliefs, our philosophy of life. We let go of even what we think we know. We believe so much, but really know very little in the sense of information. And yet there's a whole quantum field of possibility, infinite possibility, can become available to our knowing. So, our prayer of surrender is, Spirit of truth, take from us what we don't need. Bring to us what we do need. Our intellect, our hearts, our minds, even our bodies are free and open to receive the truth. The truth that is constantly, consistently, and collaboratively working with the universe and with the power that causes the universe to come to be for our greater good, bringing to us freedom. Freedom. True freedom. Release us from our egos. Bring us into the truth. And so it is. And so it is. We want you to know that you are welcome here. If you are a part of One Love Consciousness Movement, if you are part of First Unity Spiritual Campus, ultimately we're all one together. But each one of us have our own particular loyalties maybe. You are welcome. If you're a part of neither one in an organizational way, you are welcome because you are welcome. You are valuable without ever having a branded stamp by any particular religious group or even any kind of a spiritual persuasion or expression. Just because you are welcomed and valued. We honor you in this space, and we thank you for taking the time. Time is something that Walmart's not giving refunds on. You're not going to redeem the time. Time is something you can't get back in this human expression experience. But we also know that time is just a construct. But the fact that you're willing to spend that time here is an honor for us, and we say thank you. All right, let's get into Tao Te Ching, verse 12. This is not a long verse. Colors blind the eye. Sounds deafen the ear. Flavors numb the taste. Thoughts weaken the mind. Desires wither the heart. The master or the sage observes the world but trusts his or her inner vision. He or she allows things to come and go. He or she, their heart is open as the sky. You know, I talk about these concepts pretty regularly anyway. I think what Lao Tzu is really essentially telling us here is that sometimes we can get entirely too caught up in our senses. Sense consciousness or sense awareness is very limited. It's limited to feelings. It's limited to the sensations. And even the sensations. And when I say that, I mean just simply missing the mark of your highest calling. That's really all that is. We can be seduced by these sensations and sensations. They can cause us to experience numbness. As it says, colors can blind the eye, or numb or dull. Another translation says dull the vision. Sounds can deafen the ear or make it harder for you to hear the truth. Flavors can numb the taste. We actually know this to be true. There are many folks who, I'll give you, for instance, a friend of mine who smoked for years used to really have to use a massive amount of salt because of the assault on his taste buds through smoking. He thought that it needed more salt. It wasn't seasoned enough. When he quit smoking, he realized how much salt he'd been using, possibly too much for his body. In fact, he became plagued by high blood pressure, possibly caused by salt, don't know, but this is true that flavors sometimes can numb the taste. I'll tell you this, I am one who really like colognes. I've been into cologne since I was 9 or 10 years old. And when I go and test colognes at a department store, they will have, most of them will have a small jar of coffee beans. The coffee beans are there in the smelling of colognes to reboot the palate, right? Because the palate has been inundated by a variety of smells. What happens is it's not that you can't smell the colognes, but that you can't smell the truth of that cologne. And so to reboot the palate is vitally important so that you really get clarity on what it is you're smelling. Otherwise, you may turn on a particular cologne or not be interested in it because you can't really smell. The smells have run together. The same is true for knowledge or for wisdom in this world. Often we need to smell, the old saying, wake up and smell the coffee. It's true. Coffee, for some reason, has a way of rebooting the senses, especially when you've been dealing with sweet smells. So for people who are waking up, and we're in the awakened process, awakening me in 23, many of us who are waking up, the coffee smell, or sometimes the bitterness of a truth, is often the very thing that can reset your default and cause you to be able to smell the truth of what is real. And in this particular case, I believe Lao Tzu is talking about that. When we become too identified with our senses, when we become too identified with our personality, and that's become our personal reality, we often lose the truth of our true self, our essential, as I've mentioned before, our authentic, essential, and original being. The origin from which we all came to be. Your origin is divine. The lies that told you were separate from God were lies that numbed the senses to who you truly are. Now we're waking up. We're waking up from the stupor and the drug of religious lies and untruths that were propagated on us. Most of them were just traded down beliefs called traditions. Somebody's traditional approach to God got traded down, and ultimately it became a traitor to you. And it asked you to trade in the real for an illusion or a delusional way of thinking. This has even affected the planet to such a degree that now we understand that it looks like that religious trauma is actually a mental illness. I would go further to say that religious loyalty is a mental illness of sorts, because it causes mental dis-ease, or the dis-ease of your soul, disconnection from ease. And we're seeing that play out. It's perpetuating once again in our society and in our world, as people really do actually believe in a very ogreish, judgmental, angry God who could actually torture people in a torture chamber for eternity. And yet that God loves you unconditionally. Apparently not unconditionally, because there's a few conditions that have been put on it. One is saying the right name and saying it the right way, praying the right prayers. If you don't, then this is a Santa Claus God that is going to check the list and check it twice to see if you've been naughty or nice. This has dulled the senses and the sensations of the human race, causing us to be lulled to sleep by the poison toxicity of separation, which is an illusion. You are not separate from God. You never were. God is in you, through you, as you. You are connected to God, and God is connected to you. Irrevocably and eternally, it's impossible for that to not be the case. It's impossible for that to not be the case. Let me say that correctly. You are made of God's stuff, so you can't be separate from God. I mean, the source from which everything comes to be literally energizes and animates your ability to be in this present world. So Lao Tzu here, I think he's talking about us restoring ourselves to our original self, to our original beingness, to getting back to the Tao. And the Tao Te Ching in Chinese, or Tao in Chinese, is essentially the reference to the source energy. Source energy is what you come from. You can't be separate from it because you would cease to exist if you were. He says in the second stanza, the master observes the world, but trusts her inner vision. Eyesight, insight. When we go from identifying just with eyesight and we move toward insight, we begin to envision and reinvigorate that portion of us, that part of us that is divine. So this is one of the reasons probably Jesus, the master teacher, talked about, I am the light of the world, now I'm going the way, now you're the light of the world. And if the eye be single, the whole being is filled with light. As the light shines in the dark place, invigoration happens. Reformation begins to happen. Redemption, reincarnation, regeneration, all of those things, all of the words of salvation, salve, sozo, to be delivered and to be freed, to be lifted up. This begins to happen. The master observes the world, but trusts more the inner vision. So this is a request to come back to, and I mentioned it this morning in the walk and talk. Information is great while you're informed, but remember that inspiration, while information is limited, inspiration is an invitation, a calling into the limitless, boundless potentiality of the divine, which is in you, through you, and as you, is you. Whew. I hope you're getting the energy of this evening with me. I really feel that this is in perfect timing for where we're at, as we're awakening into our true selves, as we are awakening this new understanding. What we visualize will materialize at some point. And so the master observes the world. I see the world. I see the systems of the world. I'm not ignoring them. But what I trust in is my inner vision. Yes, you can trust your inner vision, though it may have been clouded by the eyesight or the eye vision, which sometimes is division too. Sometimes it's a bit fractured and fragmented, and we end up needing spectacles so that we can change the optics and see a different option. Does that make sense? He goes on to say, she allows things to come and go without grasping, allowing situations and circumstances to come and go, allowing people to come and go, allowing energies to come and go, just like allowing the breath to come and go. Circumstances and situations come into your life. Watch them come in, watch them go. Observe, but you don't have to engage. Witness, but you don't have to become connected to. You don't have to identify just because you happen to see it or witness it or observe it. Be mindful, very mindful, what you're allowing to yourself to be identified with. Be careful that you don't take on the identity of the temporary things that don't account for much. Just watch what you're doing with your the ownership of things. And notice what you're doing. And notice how identified with your personality and with your sexuality and your race and your color and your creed. And when I say sexuality, I'm talking about male or female. Notice how connected to those things we become. We really think that that's our true self. No, it's a facsimile. It's only an outward temporary appearance. The true you is the one that is without label, the one that is without limit, the one that is boundless, the one who does not have any need for temporary thingness. We came from the world of no things into the world of things, from nowhere to now here in this present moment. And Lao Tzu, I believe, is asking us to return to that. The master observes the world, sees the world, I see what's going on with it, but trusts the inner vision. She allows things to come and go, but her heart is open as the sky. I talk about this so much, and recently I mentioned to you that when Jesus, the Master, said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. His word for heaven during his time would have essentially been our word, skies. The kingdom of the skies is within you. I love how Eckhart calls this the dimension of God, which is boundless. See, Jesus had not been to the moon, so he didn't know about space. He just knew about the sky. But see, we've come to find out that once you get out beyond what we call the sky, the atmosphere, you end up in the ethereal. You end up in the wide open expanse that is space. So Jesus may not have said that the kingdom of space is within you, but that's essentially what he was talking about. He's pointing to the sky, which is the furthest and the most wide open. We utilize that during our meditation today, possibly even tomorrow again. That I look up into the sky and I see the expanse that's wide open, the wide open expanse that is, and I realize that oh my God, the Tao, Source, is so huge. So awesome that all of space, which for us is endless, we know it's endless because here we are in a solar system that's running in circles around these little balls called planets, moving through space and time. Because there's nothing to run into, we continue to do what we do. What? And that expanse is within God. And the knowledge and awareness of that is within you and me. And this is why Jesus, the Master, I'm referencing Jesus a lot this evening. Jesus and Lao Tzu agreed on quite a bit. This is why Jesus, the Master, talked about, in my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And how he talked about the endlessness of all things and how the Word can become flesh and dwell among us. And all of these things that you see me do, you shall do also and greater. And this is why he told us to consider nature when it came to our natural beingness, to watch the flow of nature so that we could be in that very same flow. It's essentially the same thing that Lao Tzu is telling us. So I'm going to read this again and then I'm going to get up out of here for today. Colors blind the eye, sounds dull the ears, flavors numb the taste, thoughts weaken the mind, desires wither the heart. The master, or sage, observes the world, but trusts her inner vision. I don't want to spend a lot of time there, but I'm going to ask you to do something. A practical thing. Don't stop noticing what's happening in the world of politics. Don't stop noticing what's happening in the world of economic systems. Don't stop noticing or observing it, but don't trust it. That's a word for somebody. You can note or make note of it, right? But don't trust it. There's no one coming to save you. Not a politician, not a group of politicians, not a president, not a king. Nobody is coming to save you from this cosmetic that we live within. Observe the world, but trust the inner vision. That means sometimes you're going to need to shut off what you see with the eyesight and turn up, open the lens on this insight. The third eye, again spoken of by the Master, who said, if the eye be single or open fully, the whole being's filled with light. Last two lines. She allows things to come and go. I love that. Non-attachment. She allows things to come and go. Her heart is as open as the sky. Lovely. Tao Te Ching, verse 12. Like I say, we're down to the count, y'all. 12. After tonight, 11 more weeks in the Tao Te Ching. Who knows, then we maybe start over. I've said before, you can read this thing in an afternoon, but you can study the Tao for a lifetime. This is powerful stuff. But I do have a second book of Tao, so we may jump into that too. And I also have the Wahoo Ching, fantastic stuff there. We can get to the sutras. Who knows? Who knows where we're going to go? But I can almost guarantee you we're going to go where maybe no one has possibly gone before or been willing to go. And we'll swim in the deep of what love truly is. Okay. All right. With my focus for a few moments on that part of the verse, she allows things to come and go. I allow things to come and go. I observe the world, but I trust the inner vision. This is what I choose to do. I observe the world and all of its systems, but I trust the inner vision. And greater is the one within than the one that is within the material world. Lovely, lovely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this movement. Thank you for supporting this movement and being a sustaining partner. If you have not been a sustaining partner so far, go ahead and get this new year started off by committing to supporting this ministry, supporting this movement. Consider doing that. If you are a member of First Unity Spiritual Campus and you're committed to that campus, please consider being a sustaining, committed member of that movement. This is all a love and consciousness movement, and your support is very necessary, and more than that, it's very appreciated. We know, as we've said before, and I invite you into this confession, love is who I am. Gratitude is my attitude. Abundance is my nature. And well-being is my birthright. And so it is. All right, y'all. I love you very much. I'll see you in the morning bright and early. Now go and make it a great evening because you can. Peace.